all been there where we're looking at the charts and we're like, this is a bad book and it is doing much better than my very good book. What the heck is going on? And if that is your question, I'm going to answer it in today's video. Welcome back to the channel. It's your girl, Kelsey, rom-com author, comedian, YouTuber, oversharer, bestie on the internet. And I have moved. I have been gone for months. I have survived the summer with my children. I am back. I'm sorry if the sound isn't great. Still putting my library wall together. It's been a hot mess of a minute, okay? But I know why you're here. You want to have a full-time author career. You want to be a full-time writer for realsies. And a lot of the people who come to my channel, you are busy and you're busting your hiney. So you're taking care of loved ones, you're a mom, you have 2 jobs, or you're writing and you have a full-time job. Maybe you're taking care of, your elderly parents or something like that. And I get it. You are working so hard on your books and your books are flopping. Can we be real? Or maybe you haven't released your first book yet, but you're looking at the charts and you're looking at the competition and you're like, these books are not good. And this author keeps crushing it over and over again. Is this what I'm supposed to be writing? Like, am I supposed to write this drivel that's topping the charts? Or you've put out a book and your book went nowhere. Meanwhile, this other person just continues to top the charts. And I know why. I have all the answers. You've come to the right place. If you're new here, I have written over 12 novels. I think the number's 13 novels now, under 3 pen names. I have a fully complete series. You can go stalk me on Amazon. I have thousands of reviews. I've sold thousands of copies. And I made just under 6 figures in a year as I was getting started when I launched my author career. Now, a subtitle to this video would be, is Kelsey a big fat fraud? Because if you were to stalk me now, you'll go look at Christmas in July just came out this summer, and I would consider it a flop. And you're going to go look and be like, this girl, has 100 reviews on her book. She's clearly not making that very many sales right now. She's not topping the charts. And that is all true. That's all true. And I've made a lot of mistakes since back when I was crushing it and doing things the right way. And I've made a bunch of mistakes and started to do things the wrong way. And so I'm able to come from a unique perspective of what we should be doing and what we're not doing. I want all of us to have the kind of success I had at the beginning, where I was every time I refreshed, I had another 5-star review. I had another 1,000 set of page reads. When I would go look at my KDP dashboard, I would go look and refresh, and it was just so exciting because it was just sales and sales and sales and readers and readers and readers. And I had so many people tagging me online and emailing me and messaging me like, I love your book so much. It was a wonderful time to be alive. Now, not so much. Here's one of the first reasons why another author is doing well and you've put out a book and you are doing horribly, or maybe you're not doing horrible, you're doing mediocre. You're not anywhere near making enough money to have a career. You're not anywhere near being able to pay your bills, pay off your debt, live from your art, right? Most of the time, this is a quantity issue. And we don't want to hear that because we want to write wonderful books, amazing, life-changing novels. I get it. I want to write wonderful books, and it takes time to write wonderful books. But the reality is, the faster you can publish, the more books you can put out, that is going to increase your chances of success. And we are, yes, competing with all these AI books, which is why I always say we got to be a little delulu. We got to stay delulu because there is some grand delusion involved in thinking I'm going to make it full time from my art. Any artist who does this, they are just a little bit off, something just not quite right. And that's where we need to be. But we have to have the tools. So one of the tools is you have to quit thinking in terms of books. If you've watched my videos, I say this every time. You can't think in terms of books. You have to think in terms of series, okay? Interconnected standalones or sets of duologies and trilogies that are all in the same world. Building a universe and putting out book after book after book in that same universe. Now, if you are like, well, I just have my one idea. I wrote a guide. It's a like 18-page guide, which was all the stuff that I did in my journals and dry erase boards and sticky notes and index cards. And I put it all together for you in a pretty PDF about how to take one story and turn it into a whole world and a series of stories. You take your side characters out, you map out their connections, you think about building a bigger world than just one couple or one heroine or one hero. Okay, that's free. Go get it right now, because that's going to make a big difference, because the people who are crushing it have a lot of books out. They just do. Now, here's the thing. Other people don't want to talk about this, but I'm going to talk about it. Anybody who says you can do this today, the same way I did and the same way other people did back in 2021, they're lying to you. It is way harder now than it was in 2021, 2020, 2021, 2022. Why? Because of Bookstagram and BookTok. The people were feral for the books. People were just posting constantly about, books. So it was easy for authors to jump in, also start posting short-term video, or reach out to those influencers, create a connection, have them, send them your books, have them talk. All of that has slowly died. And anyone who's saying it's not dead, red flag. What does that mean for us today? It means we have to have different strategies. It means we have to be smarter, work faster, harder, and more strategic, okay? So let's go through these reasons. That's one of the reasons that people who write bad books are making bank. One, I'm going to get to there's one key reason, and it's really the most important one at the end. But the first one is quantity. They're writing in series. They have a lot of books in the same world. They have a lot of books where people, want to read all of them or sit and read one and they ended up reading 10. This can also mean that they are writing shorter books that are all in this, shorter books that are more serialized, where you really want to get to the next part in this story. There are only some genres that can do this. I find that I don't read them anymore because I got annoyed, but a lot of mafia romance, one couple is 3 or 4 books. I'm out. Unless it's a romantasy trilogy where they're also saving the world, but the readers love it. And a lot of mafia authors never even put out one book at a time. Each couple gets 2 to 3 books. They're a little bit shorter, but they're, like snack size. People are just binging them. So quantity of books is one of the reasons. Another reason would be the speed at which they're publishing. I was talking to AI about my publishing world and like, hey, how do I get back to the glory days? And I was comparing to another author, and I think it was, I can't remember, another romance author. And I was like, so they're maybe doing like what, twice as fast as me? And AI was like, haha, no, their schedule is 4 times as fast as you. They're putting out a book every month and a half or every month. What? Again, I know you watching this, you have like a whole life, right? I mean, we have a whole life to do outside of just sitting and writing. How are they doing this? Well, part of that is patience and really being strategic on the front end. Get my guide, plan out 4 books, and then publishing them quickly. And by the time you get to book 4, you're mapping out the next series. Maybe you take a couple months off and then you do it again. You rapid release, which technically rapid release is like 1 a month or 1 every 6 weeks. But I feel like every 90 days feels rapid to me. You're planning on the front end and you're being patient. And I know it's hard. We put out a book, we want to publish it. But if you want to have a career, you have to make business decisions. I want you to have a author business, not I wrote a book. I want you to have a career. And so you need to make business decisions. And one of those is waiting until your series is ready and publishing them faster. So we've got people who don't write that well who are killing you in the charts. One, quantity of books. They're writing in series. They're writing books where you want to keep reading because they have a little bit of a hint at the end, or they're writing cliffhangers. They have figured it out. 2, they are publishing a lot faster. They probably write a lot faster. And one of the most prolific writers of our time, lover or hater, is Megan Quinn. And she posts, she's very transparent about her word count. And she just is writing any chance she gets. She talks about it openly. You can go look. And she writes millions of words per year. She posts about this. So you got to figure out how to write faster. You got to plan strategically to have series and put out multiple books. Okay, next. I'm going to say it again. A lot of the times, the people who are successful now, it's because they launched earlier in the glory days of BookTok. Really, what that did was that allowed them to have the key. I'm going to tell you what the key is. But BookTok, Bookstagram, those glory days, 2020 to 2022, really helped people to unlock the key to having an author career faster. Another key part is a lot of people popped off during that time, 2020 to 2022, but they had already been writing for 10 years. I mean, they just happened to go viral, and then people find them and like, oh my gosh, this person has 10 books out. Then they start reading all of their backlist. They have this influx of sales from their backlist, which again goes to quantity, doesn't it? But I'm talking about people who have been in the game a long time and just suddenly go viral in 2021. Now they have a huge influx of cash, which leads to the next thing I wanted to tell you, which is that they figured out how to run ads. Advertising and marketing are the key to any business. Marketing is the key to any business. If you can't market your books, you will fail. I'm going to say that again. Listen, nobody else talks to you like this on YouTube. This is why you come to me. If you can't figure out how to market your books, you will fail. So for them, a lot of times with that influx of cash, with their massive amounts of Kindle page reads that they're getting, they're putting that money into ads. And then ads fuel the business. Now you can hear people talk about revenue numbers. Like I talked about at the beginning that I made just under 6 figures in a year, but those were profitable, meaning I didn't spend all of those 6 figures right back on ads just to get me the 6 figures. So when people talk about their revenue numbers, which is like the incoming money, ask them about or try and dig and see if they ever talk about profitability, which means did they spend all their money on ads? But a lot of people, I mean, if you look at the big boys are spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on Amazon ads and Facebook ads and Instagram ads. Hundreds of thousands of dollars, but they're making more than that. I mean, it could just be, they make 10 cents per ad or whatever, but it adds up to, return on investment. They're making more than they're spending, but they're spending a ton on ads. And you're like, well, I don't have any money for ads. Well, you got to get there by doing a series and building a backlist and having people binge read so that you build up enough income to take that income and put it into ads. So like right now, we talked about like the last launch I had was a dud and I didn't do any marketing because we were moving into this house, and moving a family of 8 was as horrific as it sounds. And so I was like, I have to let this book just launch on its own. I can't really post about it much. I wasn't on Instagram at all. I didn't do any short form video. But even with that, I still am taking a little bit of money that I'm making from this book and putting it into ads. The ads are a key. Once you can figure them out, you can scale them. And I've talked before about how to figure out ads and how to do them well, is that you have to have multiple books and all of your ad dollars go to the first book. All of your ad dollars go to the first book, and then people read book 1 and then they read all the rest. And that makes your ad much more valuable. And these are what the big boys are doing. Also, I think the big people with hundreds of thousands of dollars also are promoting all of their recent releases as well, doing featured deals on BookBub if they can get it, or newsletter ads, things like that. I don't want to get in the weeds on ads. If you want to go into much more detail on ads, you can get my new blueprint, which I'll talk about. If they're not running a lot of ads, they are spending a lot of time on short form video. They are spending a lot of time creating Instagram reels. They're spending a lot of time on TikTok. And some people will say, well, I want to spend all my time on BookTok and Bookstagram because that's free marketing. It's not free. It's your time, and your time needs to be spent writing. So it's actually costing them time to do that, but it's time instead of dollars. So if you want to do it that way, you can. I would say be patient, get your books out, get the revenue in, and spend money on ads. Because Bookstagram and BookTok, it takes a while to figure it out, learn it. It changes every 10 seconds. Then you have to relearn it. You have to make new videos. You can't repurpose old stuff anymore because the algorithm can see that it's a video that's old and then they won't show it. I mean, it is a huge beast, but some people love it and they're really good at it. And if that happens, then they have this perfect concoction of a large quantity of books and they're really good at short form video, and that's their machine. But most of the big boys, their machine is an ad machine. They are running effective ads. Okay, with short form video and people who either have a lot of books out or have a big backlist, another key part that indie authors that are just starting out, and maybe you have one book out or 3 books out, maybe you have one series out, but you probably don't have an author brand. And that is one thing that the big boys do well. And it's one of the reasons that I succeeded. I set up a brand for myself at the get-go, and then I set up a brand for my series. I had a whole plan to tell the reader what to expect. That's what your brand is. Your brand is, here's what you can expect from me, reader, and then you give it to them over and over and over again. And yes, there's a visual component. Quit using a cartoon as your avatar. We're done with that. You cannot have a cartoon profile picture anymore. You cannot have your profile picture be the letters of your name anymore, because you could be AI. You could be a robot and people are over it. Okay. You need to figure out a brand that has an interesting logo, your name, some kind of tagline to explain who you are and what you offer them. And then you have to deliver on that over and over and over and over. One great example in the romance world, I know I always give romance examples, but that's the world I live in, is Elsie Silver. She did a whole series, indie. She did 2, I think, whole series all by herself. And the second one was so successful, then she got picked up and now she's doing traditional. But all of her series are grumpy cowboys. Maybe not every single book the cowboy is a grump, but pretty much. I mean, if you're reading an Elsie Silver book, you want a cowboy. There's got to be some horses or some bulls, bull riding, cows, cattle, livestock. She's got livestock, okay? She's got livestock. She's got dirty talkers, witty banter, and I mean, they're grumpy sunshine, usually somewhere in that ballpark, every single time. And if you are saying like, I don't want to do that, you have 2 options. 1, go slower. You won't be as successful. Or 2, do it for as long as you can and then pivot. So one of the things I did wrong was I set up a second pen name and wrote this romantasy trilogy. I think you can see into the skies back here. I wrote this romantasy trilogy at the same time that my rom-coms were coming out, which took marketing energy, brain power, brand recognition away from my rom-coms. And I tried to launch them both at the same time, and the romantasy flopped. And then I was trying to revive it, and I did special editions, and I spent all this energy after I had already had successful rom-coms going. Like, my series was out and going and making bank, and then I diluted that success by trying to market. I mean, on Amazon, I had a separate pen name, but in the marketing, I was doing it on my Instagram and my TikTok, trying to also get people to read the romantasy. So I have pulled those books down. At the end of last year, I started a whole rebrand process. And so later this year, I will re-release that trilogy. I never released book 3. I will rapid release the trilogy, and I'm marketing them as rom-com-mantasy. And I'm making sure that I'm focusing on the funny part and the relationships and the banter and the quirky personalities, the stuff people come to me for. So don't pivot quickly unless you want to go really slowly in terms of success. Like, you've got to just tell the people what they can expect from you forever. Do 2 series of that, and then you can add in once they know, okay, I'm still going to get what I love from this author. I'm just going to be in a different genre. You understand? So like Tessa Bailey is an interesting case study for this. Also, Allie Hazelwood. Allie Hazelwood's better because she did science rom-coms for 8 years or something, and then started writing vampire books. And I was like, what? And then I read them and I still loved it. It was still the same vibe, just in a vampire world. So she could do it because people at that point had already gotten to the point where I'll read whatever she writes. Doesn't matter what genre it's in. The key here is patience. I hope you're hearing me. Nobody is going to be doing this overnight. Even if your success is overnight, it's probably because you had the patience to bank your books and release them rapidly later after they were all written, all edited, all proofread, etc. There's one key to all of this, and any genre, any kind of author, whether they had a huge backlist or whether they released rapidly, or even if they came out with just one book, and by the time they put out book 2, everyone was going bonkers for it. They figured out one piece, and that one key is the most important of all of it. And before I get to it, I have to plug my stuff, okay? Because I'm not publishing as fast as I used to, I can't make the revenue that I used to. And so I did not plan on this, but a lot of you guys asked me for resources. So I have the free one. You can go get the free, it's like an 18-page guide on how to map one book into a series. And that really is that will totally change the game for you. If you don't have it yet, go get it. All this is at kelseyhumphreys.com/writing. The second thing I did was an author blueprint, a business blueprint that's going to take you A to Z, like literally how to finish your first manuscript, how to make it into a series, how do I upload to KDP, how do I start my first ad, all that is in there. So go to kelseyhumphreys.com/writing. Okay, so what is the key to success? The key to success in life from Kelsey Humphreys. The key to success as an author, as any business, is to have rabid fans, to get to the point where people are like, I don't care if she writes the phone book, I'm going to read it. And that's what these people figured out how to get in the way they wrote their books. So even if the writing isn't that good, they must have, like I've done it where I'm like, I don't really like this author that much, but she hinted about this other couple so many times, I have got to know what their deal is. Which I've talked about in separate videos, how to do that. Or somebody makes such a good cliffhanger that you're so confused and so frustrated and so interested, you have to know how it resolves, even if it wasn't a well-written book. Okay. Also, can we be real that writers are way harder on books than readers are? So readers are not out there looking for their next literary masterpiece. They just want something to read at the beach. Could be that they did a lot of market research and figured out the missing piece. Like when, when Sarah J. Maas came out with this shadow daddy concept, she would not call it that, but that's what all the readers call it. And that's what everybody wanted for like 10 years was like, we just want more shadow daddies, right? Well, she was innovating at the time, and that was new and different. And everyone wanted to understand, where is this story going? How is this going to unfold? However you do it, you have got to figure out how to get your readers to stick around. I did a deep dive on my series, and I had a drop off after book 2. And so I went and I reworked the back matter at the end of book 2. I reworked the way I talk about book 3. I changed everything so that I would continue and I just saw someone day before yesterday, post a picture that they were starting book 3 and they were loving the series. And I was like, yes! Because in book 1 and 2, not to get too into the weeds, but in book 1 and 2, it was 2 of the sisters who were roommates. And then after that, you kind of had this like complete feeling because you had read both roommates. Well, there's 3 more books after that, 4 more books after that. So I needed to get them to keep going. So I changed the way I did the very end of book 2. Now, at the end of each of my books, there's something that gets them intrigued, and really throughout all of the books. For example, the 6th book in my series, that's Things I Remember. It's the oldest sister and her husband, and it's a marriage in crisis, and inexplicably, it's doing very well. Like, it's one of my most profitable books, which really doesn't make any sense because people say online that they don't like marriage in crisis, and yet that book is crushing it. And it's the 6th book, and people are finding it and reading it out of order. Anyway, it is very well written, if I do say so myself. But I teased that couple for 5 books. By the time you get to book 6, if you're one of my readers and you've read the whole series, you are desperate for that last couple. Okay, so that's something you have to figure out. And obviously I'm talking about romance, but you can do the same thing in any genre. If you're teasing other characters and their mystery, making them intriguing, making them confusing so that the reader wants to read on and figure it out. If you are even authors, let's say, because I keep talking about series, but even an author who had only 1 book out and figured out BookTok and Bookstagram and made this huge community of rabid fans going in there, responding to comments, sending DMs, doing like video replies and photo replies to people and saying thank you and reaching out to all of their fans to create this rabid community. Because then it doesn't matter what you write. These people are so invested in you and your world. They are part of your tribe, of your whatever. If you can name it, if you can have a name for your people, I can't think of any off the top of my head, but there are lots of authors who have like a name for their reader community. They have a Facebook group. They are in there chatting with people, and these people cannot get enough. So yeah, the books are not super well written, but they have created this community that's all rallied around whatever their world is, whatever their characters are all about, and now they are set. They are set. Whatever they write, these rabid fans are going to read it. You've got to have rabid fans on an email list. That's the other piece I forgot. The key is the email list. Why is email list so important? Why does everybody talk about this all day, every day till they're blue in the face? Because I lost my entire Facebook page, 65,000 fans who were very engaged. My videos went viral all the time, and it was hacked and deleted. I never got it back. I was on the phone with Facebook multiple times, talking to Meta. I was verified. I had a blue check, gone. Okay? Same thing could happen to my Instagram. Same thing could happen to this YouTube channel. It can happen. So you have to get people on your email list, because that's something that you control. You have it. At any time you can go in. If you get nervous, you can go into MailChimp or MailerLite or ConvertKit or whatever and download all of those and put them on your hard drive. Print it out. I know we're all like freaked out about technology these days. You could have a printed hard copy of your fans, okay? That is why email is important. It cannot be shut down. It's not, beholden to some big changing algorithm. It's your people. I, am very focused for the next, my kids went to school today. Today is back to school. Made it through summer with my 6 children. If you're new here, we adopted. So we went from 1 child to 6 children very quickly. And that's why my publishing schedule collapsed and I had to write slower and I can't keep up anymore. Now that they're back in school, I'm like kind of considering this like my January 1st for my business fiscal year beginning. And I am going to focus hardcore on 2 things: Kindle page reads and my email list. That's it. And I am going to keep up my weekly videos here. And I want to say again, I never planned on being an author tube person. I just started posting helpful stuff. And then the amount of people messaging me, the amount of comments I get, the amount of people sending me thank you on Instagram, just other authors who are like, no one is saying these things. Thank you for explaining this. So I'm keeping it up. I'm a Christian. The Bible says if you refresh others, so you will be refreshed. So here I am, refreshing you. And I hope this helps. I hope you understand that there are some key things that are so important, even if the book's not that well written. And instead of getting frustrated and mad, which we've all done over and over and over again about how this author sucks and they still continue to make bank and put out all these books that always go to #1 in the charts, even though they're not well written, blah, 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 blah. Well, we can have a pity party about that, or we can just figure out their tactics. And I have explained them to you in this video. Get my free guide. Go get the blueprint if you want to go really nitty gritty with me. Let me know if this helped you. Usually on this channel, I'm actually answering your viewer questions. So don't forget, you can go to kelseyhumphreys.com/writing to give me an in-depth question about your writing, your books, your series, what might be preventing you from getting more sales and going to being a full-time author. That's what I want for you. Don't forget to stay Delulu, and I will see you next week in the next video.